Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new to my channel, hello, my name is Gabby and welcome. If you've never been here before, never watched any of my videos, have no idea what I do here on my channel, I cover true crime cases, and all the cases that I cover are a little bit older. They're all basically 20 years or older, so if that's something that you might be interested in, maybe go down below, click that subscribe button, and also make sure to turn on the post notifications to be notified every time that I upload. So we have reached December, and I have a lot to make up for because October and November did not go as planned. September went okay. October, November, not as planned. So I have a lot to make up for in December. And if you are not new to my channel, then you may know that December I have a theme, and it is Doe-cember, which means for the entirety of the month, I just cover Jane and John Doe cases. If you keep up with a lot of John and Jane Doe cases or watch a lot of videos on my channel, you are probably familiar with the fact that so many unidentified deceased individuals are recently getting their actual names back with mostly the help of genetic genealogy, which is basically taking the individual's DNA, putting it into a DNA database, and finding familial DNA links or family members. I will be covering some of those cases this month where people have finally gotten their names back after so many years, but I do also want to focus on some who still are yet to be identified. I will be kicking off Doe-cember this year with the case of New Hope Jane Doe, also known as Hillborough Jane Doe. We're going to be taking this one back to the year of 1990, 32 years ago. The location, Hillsborough, North Carolina. Hillsborough, North Carolina is a historic town located in Orange County, known as a moderately safe area with a population of 4,263 in the year of 1990 when this case occurred. On September 19th of that year, a cleanup crew was working along Interstate 40, a little east of the New Hope Road exit, when they spotted something that caught their attention. This thing that caught their attention was about 15 feet down an embankment and would be the decomposed remains of a female. The Orange County Sheriff's Office was put on the case. This female had no identification on her, so she was known as a Jane Doe, and they would give her the name New Hope Jane Doe because, of course, she was found close to New Hope Road, or Hillsborough Jane Doe because she was found in that area. An autopsy was performed on the girl, and her cause of death was determined to be strangulation. She is a homicide victim. She did not accidentally strangle herself. Someone did this to her, possibly multiple people, we don't know. I could not find any information about whether she had been strangled by someone's hands or some sort of rope or possibly clothing. Usually when an individual was strangled by someone's hands, they will note that they found fingerprints around their neck, but I couldn't find that information anywhere. New Hope Jane Doe is guessed to be between the ages of 14 to 25. Although they believe she could be up to the age of 25, most experts do believe she is most likely a teenager. They have not ruled out her being a tad bit older though in age. She was Caucasian. She stood between 5 feet 3 inches tall and 5 feet 5 inches tall while alive. Her weight was between 105 to 115 pounds. It is believed she had been in the location she was found for about 4 to 6 days. She had shoulder-length natural brunette hair that had been dyed a strawberry blonde shade. Her hair looked as if it had been frosted, which was a popular style of doing your hair in the late 80s and 90s and traveled into the early 2000s some as well. Her dental chart was very unique. All 4 of her wisdom teeth were unerupted, so they had not come to the surface. Some people's never do. 3 of her teeth had emal restorations. She had caries on 3 of her teeth. Also, one of her teeth was in a position called a lingual crossbite, with 3 others leaning towards this lingual crossbite as well. When it comes to distinct characteristics of her remains, she had a scar on her lower right abdomen that was about 3 inches long that had come from an appendectomy. So she had a surgery done before. What doctor performed it, we don't know. They looked at her bones and it seemed like none of them had been broken or fractured previously. There were no signs she had ever been pregnant or delivered a child before. They did a toxicology test and it came back negative, so there were no known drugs in her system at the time of her death. She had been found wearing some clothing. One of those items of clothing is very talked about in this case. She was wearing a bra and white ankle-length socks that were surprisingly clean on the bottom. Also a sweatshirt. This sweatshirt is the item that is very talked about because it really stands out. This sportswear sweatshirt is a bright pink shade when it comes to color, and it has 3 cartoon bunnies on it. The FBI and CIA tried to identify this sweatshirt, but they never could. But I was on the Facebook page for the case, and the creator of the page stated in a comment section that it was discovered that the original artist of the bunnies is named Jim Benton, but that information never got them closer to solving anything regarding this case. It's just where the shirt came from. Also, the fact that the bottom of her socks were insanely clean, that's something that we have to think about. Whoever took her life most likely stole her shoes after they left her body there, maybe as some sort of sick souvenir. There is no report of any other items of clothing from the waist down except the socks, so it does seem sexually motivated, even though I could not find any reports claiming that she had been raped. No pants or underwear were found anywhere near the body from what I could find. She did have some jewelry on as well. This included a very thin banded yellow ring on her left ring finger, where of course a usual wedding ring would go, but it doesn't look like a classic wedding ring. So she may have just wore it on that finger with no relation to marriage. It appeared to be a homemade ring. She was also wearing a thin twisted bracelet on her left wrist. That is basically all of the main information about this Jane Doe. I did mention some speculation and all of that, but most everything else in this case is speculation as well. There are a few guesses in this case, a few theories. There were a few possible sightings of her before her murder. Witness reports claim an individual matching her exact description was seen walking along I-85 near NC 62, which is near where the Ramada Inn was at the time. Which, if I have the location correct, because I did look around on Google Maps, was roughly about a 20-minute drive east of where her remains would later be found. Another supposed sighting of her was at a truck stop in Alamance County, which would have been a little south of where she was seen along I-85. If I had to guess, she was at the place along I-85 and then went to the truck stop, and then possibly she got a lift from someone at the truck stop, and possibly that was the person who took her life. Now, as the investigation went on, authorities did think there may have been a connection between this Jane Doe and a murderous taxi driver. There had been a man arrested in Guilford County, North Carolina, an area about 40 miles east of Hillsborough. It is suspected that in the months after this Jane Doe was found, that he murdered multiple women in a very similar way. So I'm guessing strangulation. I don't know about the dumping of the remains or not. Information about this man is so limited that even his name is not released to the public. I tried to dig around a little on newspapers.com and I couldn't find anything about this. I do know that Orange County officers did try really hard to question him about this Jane Doe, and he just did not want to speak to them regarding it. And he eventually committed suicide, so whatever he did know, if he did know anything, died with him. Officers have followed hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of leads through the years, and none of them have really gotten them anywhere. Quite a few sketches and reconstruction photos have been done of her throughout the years, with one being done in 2018 by the incredibly talented forensic artist Carl Koppelman. This one being made to better show her teeth. They really hoped and still hope that spreading these images around the internet may help someone identify this girl, but it doesn't seem like it has helped so far. The remains of New Hope Jane Doe were cremated and spread in the sea, but they thankfully have her DNA on file, and I, of course, was curious about genetic genealogy. The Facebook page created for this Doe will be linked down below. It was created by a volunteer involved in the case named Daphne Onings, and she writes in a comment, "All available evidence has been submitted for DNA processing over the years and thus far has yielded no results. I am hopeful that genetic genealogy will bring forth some answers." So it seems like possibly genetic genealogy, which remember is a huge process, may be in the works, or her DNA may already be in a system, but there just hasn't been a match yet, which happens a lot of the time. We just have to hold hope, which is fitting considering her name is New Hope Jane Doe. There are a lot of times where Jane and John Does will have their DNA in a DNA database, but their family members may have not submitted their DNA yet by going through a process with a genetic company like, say, MyHeritage or Ancestry. But if you have any information about New Hope Jane Doe, or if you know who she is, contact the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-800-THE-LOST, which is 1-800-843-5678, or the Orange County Sheriff's Office at 919-245-2927. Remember that you can stay anonymous. So I know that this video was a lot shorter than most of my videos here on my channel, but I don't think length really has much to do with the importance of a case. Sometimes there's just not a lot of information out there about it, especially with a John and Jane Doe, because really all we know are the details about the individual and of course theories and possible sightings. But of course I wanted to highlight it nonetheless. All of these cases are very important, and there is always hope when it comes to identifying a victim. I mean, I don't know if you're all updated on this. I know so many people have been messaging me about it, but recently the boy in the box has been identified, and the last that I saw online, they have not released his name to the public. They may not, sometimes they don't, we don't know yet, but he has been identified, which is, I mean, some of the biggest news in the true crime world that we've had in a very long time. But thank you for taking a little bit of time out of your day to hear about New Hope Jane Doe's case. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day. And of course, stay safe. I will see you in the next Doe-cember video.